Chapter 11, Naomi's Table. Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves. Romans 12, verse 10. The invitation came folded in a reused envelope, the paper soft at the corners, the flap sealed with a bit of tape that had lost its stick. Ruthie found it slipped under the cottage door around lunchtime, nestled between a breeze and Bear's curious nose. The outside was blank. Inside, firm, looping handwriting, both precise and playful, formed the note.
Dear Ruthie, I'd love for you to come by my place for dinner tonight, 6 o'clock sharp. Nothing fancy, a shared meal. You don't need to bring anything but yourself. With love, Naomi.
No address. Just the back of the letter, covered in a penciled map. Arrows, landmarks, a crooked tree with a star beside it, and a little doodle of a teacup with steam curling into a heart. Ruthie stared at it for a long time. Her first instinct was to stay away. It was too soon, too raw, too complicated. The idea of showing up, of being seen, felt like standing naked in a room full of mirrors. Kindness hadn't always been kind, not in her world. It had come with expectations, with conditions, with the unspoken demand to perform gratitude. Or worse, with silence that settled in afterward, like dust on a wound, heavy and shaming. Naomi's note had arrived in a plain envelope, but the words inside were anything but casual. Simple, yes, but not careless. Every line felt deliberate, like it was written by someone who actually saw her, someone who didn't just remember she existed, but wanted her there. Ruthie stared at the invitation, then slowly folded the paper along its crease and slipped it into her coat pocket. She couldn't tell which ache was worse, the sudden invitation to belong, or the realization that someone had thought to include her. She didn't make a decision then. Instead, she opened her book and tried to read. One page, then again, then again. 4 times she read the same lines, and not once did they register. The words blurred. Her eyes scanned them, but her heart was elsewhere, caught between the fragile hope of being wanted and the old, familiar fear of what might follow if she believed it. Every so often, she'd touch the note in her pocket like it might change if she held it long enough. The hours drifted. Then James showed up. He knocked once, lightly, then opened the screen door and leaned in.
Just checking in.
James said, his voice low and easy like always.
Wanted to see how you and Bear are doing. Though I reckon I might have lost my dog for good.
Bear, curled up at Ruthie's feet, gave a lazy thump of his tail without lifting his head. James chuckled softly.
Yep, figures.
Ruthie looked up from her chair on the porch, the breeze brushing a strand of hair across her cheek.
He doesn't seem to leave my side,
she said, her voice quieter than she meant it to be.
Yeah, I noticed.
James said, leaning against the post beside her. He folded his arms, eyes on Bear for a moment.
He's got a good sense for people, always has. Picks his spot and stays loyal.
The silence stretched for a breath or two before he spoke again, more gently.
You all right?
Ruthie hesitated. Something in her chest tightened, like her heart didn't trust itself to speak. Then she gave the faintest nod.
Yeah. Just thinking.
She reached into the pocket of her hoodie and pulled out the folded note, holding it out to him with both hands like it weighed more than it should.
Naomi sent this, inviting me to dinner.
James took it, careful with the paper like it might tear. He unfolded it, smiled when he saw the hand-drawn map.
She's still drawing that teacup on everything, huh?
He handed it back to her, their fingers almost brushing.
Are you going?
She stared at the note for a moment before answering.
I don't know. I told myself no, but now I can't stop thinking about it.
James nodded, not pushing.
If you decide to go, I can lend you the ute, or drive you if you'd rather. Whatever feels right to you. No pressure.
Ruthie glanced down at Bear, who blinked up at her like none of it was urgent, like they had all the time in the world. Her voice came out small.
I don't want to intrude.
James shook his head.
You wouldn't be. Naomi doesn't invite people she doesn't want at her table. She's got a gift for that, and as for me, you would never be intruding.
Ruthie unfolded the letter again, smoothing the worn crease with her thumb. Then, instead of tucking it away, she placed it gently on the table beside her mug. Not hidden, not dismissed, just there, waiting. 5:55 p.m. arrived. Ruthie stood before Naomi's weather-worn cottage, framed by wild bush roses and thyme pots, equal parts tangled and thriving. Her hands trembled as she raised one to knock. But before her knuckles touched wood, the door swung open. Naomi filled the doorway, apron dusted with flour, braid over one shoulder, and the smell of something warm and real drifting out behind her.
Good, I am glad you came.
Naomi said, eyes twinkling. Ruthie blinked, thrown by the welcome. She fumbled to grab a jar of jam from her bag. Unopened, awkwardly wrapped in a tea towel from the cottage pantry. She thrust it forward.
I didn't make this, but I wanted to bring a gift. I hope you like jam.
Naomi took the gift, her brow lifting with surprise.
A present?
She said, a warm smile tugging at her lips.
You didn't have to do that, but thank you. That's really thoughtful.
Ruthie followed Naomi into the small dining room, where a table had been set for two. Mismatched plates, a faded linen runner, and a simple jar of wildflowers at the center. The setting was a little haphazard, but beautiful in its own way, like it had been arranged for comfort, not show.
Take a seat, I'll be right back.
Naomi said, disappearing into the kitchen. Ruthie sat gingerly, breathing in the mouth-watering aroma of roasted vegetables and freshly baked bread that drifted through the house. Naomi soon returned, balancing a large wooden board with a warm, crusty loaf of bread and a small crock-pot. She set them down between them, smiling.
Hope you've brought your appetite.
With practiced hands, she sliced thick slabs of bread and ladled steaming soup into their bowls before sitting across from Ruthie. Ruthie hesitated at first, lifting her spoon and breathing in the steam. The smell was rich and earthy, both familiar and strange. She sipped carefully, then closed her eyes, letting the warmth settle deep inside her.
This is delicious.
She murmured, almost surprised at the comfort she found in something so simple. They ate together. Ruthie savored every spoonful, tearing off hunks of bread to soak up the last drops, grateful for a meal that made her feel, if only for a moment, safe and looked after. When she finally set her spoon down, Naomi grinned.
James must not be feeding you well out there. No one's ever finished my soup that fast.
Ruthie looked up.
Thank you, Naomi. That was the best soup I've had in a long time.
Her voice was quiet, but there was no mistaking the gratitude behind it. Naomi's face lit up with a warm smile.
I'm glad you liked it, love.
Without another word, Naomi slipped out of the room, her footsteps soft down the hallway. She soon returned, carrying a large, colorful tote bag, the fabric bulging with lumpy shapes. She set it gently beside Ruthie's chair, her smile gentle but a little nervous, as if wanting the gesture to be just right.
I thought you could use a few things.
Naomi said.
Some are mine, some are from the ladies at church. Everyone wanted to help.
Ruthie tugged the bag open, revealing a stack of carefully folded clothes. Shirts, jeans, soft jumpers, even a set of pajamas and a woolen scarf. For a second, Ruthie just stared, her throat tightening. Then her hands dove into the bag, running over the fabric. These weren't just clothes. They were a lifeline, proof that people had thought about her, cared enough to give. She sobbed, the type of tears she couldn't hold back or swallow down, the kind that cracked her open.
Thank you.
She whispered, voice ragged.
Thank you. I don't even have words.
Naomi, without fanfare, pulled her into a hug. Ruthie went, arms wrapping around Naomi, clinging like she might never let go. For a moment, all she could do was cry and let herself be held. When Ruthie finally pulled away, wiping her eyes, Naomi squeezed her shoulders.
I know it might feel strange,
Naomi said gently, her voice steady.
but around here, Ruthie, people like helping others. It's just how we are.
Ruthie didn't reply right away. The two of them stood there in that tender moment. Later, after they'd shared warm slices of homemade apple pie and the plates sat empty between them, Ruthie moved to stand, ready to leave. But Naomi reached for something first, a small parcel wrapped in brown paper and tied with simple string. She pressed it into Ruthie's hands.
Just a little something.
She said. Ruthie turned the parcel over in her hands, fingers tracing the edges of the string like it might come undone if she breathed too hard. She didn't unwrap it, couldn't yet, just held it close like it might steady her.
Thank you.
She said quietly, her voice catching in her throat.
For dinner, for the present, and the clothes.
The last word barely made it out. Her voice broke, thin and splintered with the weight of it all. Gratitude, disbelief, the ache of being seen when she hadn't expected to be. Naomi just nodded, eyes warm and certain.
It was my pleasure. You're welcome here, Ruthie, anytime. Remember that.
Outside, the sky had faded to bruised purple. Ruthie made her way back to the cottage, heart aching, hands clutching the parcel and the bag of clothes, as if she might lose them at any moment. The warmth of Naomi's home lingered with her long after the night closed in. Back in the cottage, she sat on the bed with the bag of clothes beside her, the parcel in her lap. She untied the string, finding a thick slice of spiced apple cake, a book of poetry, and a square of folded paper in Naomi's steady handwriting.
Ruthie, I hope you know this. You don't have to be whole to be worthy of care. Even in the ruins, we are all deserving of love and care.
Ruthie pressed the note to her chest, eyes stinging with the weight of it. For the first time in years, she let herself believe it. Not fully, not without doubt, but enough to feel the flicker of something she'd nearly forgotten, the possibility of being lovable, even as she was. Just for tonight, she didn't feel like a burden, or a mess to be fixed. She felt seen, cared for. And in the quiet glow of that moment, something tender stirred in her, a small, aching kind of hope.
Thank you for listening to this chapter of Healing on the Land. If this story has touched your heart, I'd love for you to come join me for the next chapter. You can find it here on this channel. If you'd like to support more Christian storytelling, you can purchase the full book or make a donation using the link in the description. Your support, no matter the size, helps us to continue writing stories of faith, healing, and hope. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel. May God bless you, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day.